4, 3, 2, 1.
You're listening to Racing World, brought to you by Perspective Group. It's your motorsport podcast show in conjunction with Race Control Magazine.
Well, hi everyone. Welcome to another edition of Racing World. Yes, I'm still on MIQ, but just a few days to go now, so really looking forward to getting out of here, that's for sure. But what a great IndyCar race we had today. The fourth to last race of the season, the last oval of the season, a night race. It had it all. But before we get into that, let's just look at some of the news that's come out of IndyCar in the last week or so, because there's some really, really interesting news. So first of all, if we look at our silly season scenario, the hot rumour is that Simon Pagano will leave Penske and potentially end up at Michael Shank Racing, and he'll join Alio there. So we've kind of mentioned that before. I think that that's got a little bit more weight behind it now. The big question, where will Jack Harvey go? And there was something that Davey Hamilton said today in the radio broadcast that I was listening to, alluding to the fact that maybe Jack Harvey could end up at Penske. So that it would be a very interesting one. Stress, however, that's just speculation and rumour, nothing firm. Sato's come back saying that he still has life in IndyCar and wants to stay there. So will he stay at Rahal's? I hope so, because I think he kind of belongs there. Or will he end up over at Shank Racing with the Honda money? You just never know. So there's still quite a bit going on. And of course, we've got, Alex Albon and all these other people talking about going. The house of cards, the way it will tumble, I think, will be Grosjean taking the Hunter race seat, and then the ripple effect will go from there. That's, I think, when that happens, that's when we'll start to see all the other things come into play. Rahal's themselves saying that they still want to potentially run 3 cars next year. Carlin saying that they want to run 2 cars next year. So that car count is consistently getting higher and higher. And of course, Bobby Rahal with his sponsors Humvee, which is a grocery supplier in the Midwestern part of the US, saying that they will look after the Iowa waste and bring it back into the calendar again for a double-header event starting next year. So that's really great news, both for them as a sponsor and then equally to see Iowa back in there. Great little racetrack. Went to there a few years ago in amongst all the cornfields and everything, and it's a fantastic place to go to. More news. Michael Andretti coming out this week. This is a bit of a left field of this one, saying that he'd be interested in running a Formula One team. So you immediately think, okay, well, what Formula One teams could he get? He even said the teams that would be available, should obviously the checkbook be large enough, would be Haas, and that would keep it as an all-American team. And I'm sure Gene Haas is probably getting to the point of going, maybe I've had enough of this. The other teams that Michael said would be potentially available would be the Sauber-owned team, or it's not owned by Sauber anymore, but Alfa Romeo as we now know it, and then also the Williams team. So I think the best bet would probably be Haas. Is that a wise thing for Michael to do? I don't really think so. And will it come to anything? No, but it made the headlines for a while, so whoopie-doo. St. Louis itself, that we were at today, announced that they've extended a contract with IndyCar, and they'll be in for another 5 years of racing at Worldwide Technology Raceway Park. So that's fantastic. 5 years there, great little circuit. I think it would be good. One thing that Will Power said in the post-race press conference, which we'll get to a little later on, is that he would love to see them create an opportunity to have a better second groove so we could get better racing there. So I'm sure that's something they'll take on board. Just flipping to the Kiwis for a second, a lot of news going around there. Hunter looking to step up the ladder next year to an Indy Lights program with a team that we've got a pretty good guess on, and we'll reveal that soon. Don't want to create too much speculation when it's not official, but it's great news for Hunter. So any supporters of Hunter McElrea and the New Zealanders' chances of getting to Indy Light, I sincerely suggest that you get in touch with his dad, Andy McElrea, because they need the funding right now. Billy Fraser was home this weekend, talked a lot to Billy and helped him out at a function that he hosted in Auckland. He's since returned to the States to continue his USF 2000 campaign, and will be staying up there and looking at running again next season. And Peter Vodonovich still up there as well. So all the best to those 3 guys, plus of course Mclaughlin and Dixon in IndyCar. Then looking towards the race today, well, the big thing is it was a one-day event. 90 minutes to practice in the morning, a couple of hours later you qualify, and then you go into the race. However the car qualified, it was then impounded, no technical changes to the car. What you ran in qualifying, you ran for the first stint of the race. So a lot of games of compromise and stuff in there. Very demanding day. Imagine if you dinged it in practice. The comeback road is, considerably tough. So there was so much going on around the paddock. But let's get to the race itself. And man, there was so much going on. So let's review St. Louis, 4 races to go, IndyCar 2021. Well, onwards now to the race, and one of the big talking points that came up in the press conference, it was mentioned by O'Ward and it was also mentioned by Will Power, was the starts and whether or not the starts were conducted in the right fashion. O'Ward saying that maybe there was a little bit of checking up going on. He kind of pointed the finger towards Rossi. Let you make up your own minds on that one. I'm not going to put myself out on a limb on that. But Will Power said something very significant. He did exactly what he was told to do at the start, ran in first gear to the point at which he then released the field or he takes off. So he said he conducted the starts in the true manner in which he'd been told to do them in. So let's just say case closed on that one, but it's always an interesting point. Probably more so on an oval as well. But what it's done is it's put Joseph Newgarden firmly back in this championship. Now, I've been saying this for weeks, don't count Joseph Newgarden out of things. And now you really can't count him out. He had an absolute awful start to the season out on that first lap way back at Barber, and you would have thought, right, well, that's the season done and dusted. But the guy creeps away at making points, and here he is now firmly a championship contender. And as we've been saying, it's always gone Dixon, Newgarden, Dixon, Newgarden. So will it be a Newgarden? It is, in that shuffle, a Newgarden turn. The man that's made the most points, however, since the Indy 500 way back in May is Marcus Ericsson, and he's now inside the top 5. He has made more points in the championship than any other driver has since May. So you can't rule Ericsson out of it. But anyway, to the race itself, apart from the starts, well, what did we see? We saw a couple of incidents early on. The big one, of course, was the accident with VK, which involved Alex Palau and Dixon. That could be a game changer in the championship, really. Everyone thought that they had the right of way there, and it wasn't to be one of those things. The Dixon crew, they worked really hard. He returned to the race to try and get some points. He dropped out late, but in the end he was 160 laps down and dropped to 4th in the standings. But they did everything they could do, but they just didn't get the car back out quick enough to claim any more of those championship points. And it was a bit like what we saw with Will Power at Fontana a few years back. And I remember standing there watching all that unfold. And it's a race to get back out before all those laps deteriorate on you. But well done to the Wolfpack, and they got their driver back out there. Other things that kind of happened in the race, really, Colton Herter was there for a while. Thought that he may have even got a win in there, but he wasn't to come to part. Talking about drive shaft failure within the car. It was just a long, hard race, but it was a Saturday night race under lights, and I just think they're spectacular. But in the end, Newgarden came away with the win. O'Ward now has the championship lead, and it's just tightened things up. Big thing, and it's a question that I asked Will Power again, which you'll hear in just a minute. 4 Penske cars in the top 8, and what a day for Kiwi Scott Mclaughlin, eh? 4th in the race, never been to this track before, has tested there once, and the testing time was obviously valuable, but that's an outstanding performance from McLaughlin, just to think that he's never raced on ovals until this year, and here he is coming away with a 4th. So I think that's just absolutely fantastic. Another point of interest there have been 8 different winners in the last 10 races. So again, this says exactly what IndyCar is all about right now. It's competitive, it's tough, you've got to earn your wins, on various circuits, and 8 winners in 10 races. I don't think there's many championships around the world that can claim that, so IndyCar can hold its hand up very, very high in that one and take claim to it. But onwards to talking to people. Straight after the race, I joined the Zoom conference as per normal and got the chance to talk to our winner, Joseph Newgarden.
It's just really hard to stay at the front nowadays. You end up getting jumbled up. Like even us last weekend, I had to start 20th, and I'd consider us a front runner, but every now and then we find ourselves all over the grid. So I'm not always around consistently the same people. And you end up having these run-ins with people you don't see very often during the year. So I think that's part of what's aggravating the situation is that the field is so competitive and it's jumbled up every weekend that, different people are around each other all the time now. And, couple that with aggressive driving and, you're just having a lot more moments, I think, where people are upset with each other. So it's kind of the nature of the beast right now. It's so competitive and so tight, the field, as far as performance goes, that, I mean, you almost have to be aggressive to get in front of people and to, find an edge. And so, like I said before, if you don't bring that aggression yourself, you end up getting run over now.
Okay, we'll take a couple questions from the Zoom. First one is from David Turner for Will. Will, with 4 Penske cars in the top 8 tonight, what has changed at Penske?
Well, nothing really. I mean, like I said at Indy, it wasn't through lack of trying or hard work. Obviously, there's a bit of bad luck in there. Yeah, nothing's changed. I think we're just kind of seeing our true potential right now. So, yeah, I expect, when you look at Newgarden's pace all year, it really is not a lack of performance. It's just a lack of, just real circumstance. And yeah, I mean, I expect us to be competitive for the next 3 races.
Then moving back through some of the other drivers that we were able to catch up with, and once again, big thanks to IndyCar, Kate Davis and the team. Thanks so much for helping us out with these interviews. It really goes a long way towards making the show. So one of the people we got straight after the race was Sato. He always loves this place. It was a big day for him. Top 10 finish again for Taku. I think that's great testament to where he is. Certainly worthy of retaining his drive with the Rahal team for next year. And let's hear what Taku had to say.
I mean, today the qualify wasn't great, but we surely definitely move up, and then quite exciting, lots of overtaking. But unfortunately, the last pit stop, the last
to the finish for the championship of the NTT
proper sequence of the pit
IndyCar
stop,
Series.
the
Palau
didn't came into the fold,
here tonight
so it was kind of short. And that's why I had to come into the under the yellow to top up the field. So that was a real shame. The boys did a fantastic job. If that didn't happen, obviously we were really strong finish today. But nevertheless, I think we fought really strong from midfield, and finishing top 6 it's really proud of the team.
Then just outside the top 10 in 11th place, Conor Daly driving for Carlin this time, because he alternates obviously when he's not driving for Ed Carpenter in the road course events, he's driving for Carlin on the ovals. So an 11th place finish for them, it's actually pretty good really, because Carlin haven't really been up that high in quite some time. So I think an 11th place for Daly was pretty good effort for the night overall.
Well, I think tonight was a successful night. Obviously when you go from P20 to P11 in this competitive field right now, it's great. We had the most overtakes of anyone tonight, which was fun. It was a lot of hard work. We got up to even higher, but Hunter Ray, trying to pass Hunter Ray around the outside, didn't really have the room and got in the marbles and lost some position. So we would have loved to have started higher to attack early on, but I think we definitely made our way up there in the top 10, which was exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to prove that we were fast and we had a great car again. And I tell you what, from the beginning of practice to where we finished the race, I mean, we made so much progress, and that's what we have to do on these one-day shows, especially when we don't get to test. So I think the team did a great job, and no mistakes, and just a really great rebound from being upside down in Texas.
Then a man that we've all taken a liking to in 2021, Romain Grosjean, finishing 14th tonight, giving Scott Mclaughlin a good run for his money in the Rookie of the Year titles. But of course, Mclaughlin finishing up there in 4th, so that's going to help that point spread a little bit. But Romain's very first race on an oval, he wasn't initially very keen about it, but he seemed to adapt to it very well. Big learning curve for Romain tonight.
Hey guys, first of all, finished. It was a very, very good experience. I had a lot of fun in the race. We tried a strategy that didn't quite work, so the end result is not as good as our race, but we had a fast car, we've learned a lot. Made a couple of mistakes and caught tires into the marbles, but saved it and managed to get some good pass. So happy with our first day. I'm very dizzy right now, but tomorrow should be better.
Then onwards to 19th position, and Kiwi Scott Dixon, the Iceman. You certainly wouldn't have expected him to be down there. Struggled a little bit in qualifying. There was a talk of quite a bit of handling issues in qualifying, but at the end of the day, that is what it is, and the race is what it is. And to get caught up in that incident, which was of no fault of Dixon's whatsoever, but lucky there's safer barriers all the way around the circuit at St. Louis, but A 19th place finish has done a really big dent to the points championship. Still only 43 points behind for Dixon, but you know, you're going to need some things to go your way with the 3 races remaining. So it was a little slightly dejected Scott Dixon after the race.
Yeah, just a rough night. We were struggling a little bit with first gear, with restarts, and then obviously he's got collected there. So bummed, man. There was both of our cars that were fairly high up in the championship. You know, feel bad for Alex as well. I'm not sure. Obviously, with the replay, to see what he did there was a bit of a bummer. So move on. Let's see what happens.
Then onwards to his teammate, 20th place finish for Alex Palau. So 1 minute you're leading the championship, you've led it for nearly the whole season, and then this happens. And this is going to be a real testing time for him. Taking the grid place drop that he had from qualifying because of the engine change after the race at the IMS road course last week and the engine failure. Honda saying that the engine couldn't be rebuilt, so he ended up with a 6th place grid drop plus the second time for doing a grid drop. So it was a 9 place grid drop in the end because he's had 2 engine changes. So it was a pretty tough start for Alex, but you know, he was getting into the groove and everything, and you certainly wouldn't have thought that he would come out not leading the championship, but unfortunately now he's dropped to 2nd in the points.
Hey guys, unfortunately we couldn't finish the race here at Gateway. We started P21 with that grid penalty, and we got that number 10 American Legion car up to top 10. I think we were doing a really good job, and the guys on the pit stops as well, but unfortunately we got crashed in turn 1 and nothing we could do. So nothing we can do now about it, and we'll move forward now onto the last 3 races.
And then joining our list of dejected drivers, you might say, in 23rd place, Graeme Rojo, one of the very early casualties of the race. Graeme seems to have these massive highs and then these massive lows, and unfortunately tonight was one of those massive lows. Again, a driver that could play his hand in these remaining races of the season and steal some points or steal a win, and that will impact how the championship plays itself out. So whilst it was a down and flat evening for Graeme, and then Taku finishing 7th kind of rubs salt into the wounds as well. You just won't rule him out, but it was a very dejected Graeme Rojo.
Fortunately for us in the Hy-Vee Honda, our race came to a close very quickly. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I appreciate Ed's candid approach of blaming me, but I think that he probably needs to review the tape. I've certainly been at blame for a lot of accidents in my career and a lot of mistakes. But tonight I felt, giving him 2 lanes of room should have been enough. And if you watch the tape, you can see that. So I'm disappointed for Hy-Vee. I'm disappointed for all the 15 car guys. Frankly, starting 9th, we got boxed in on the inside there going into 1. We've seen on all the restarts, and unfortunately, it caused us to lose a couple spots. From there, I thought we had a really great run on Ed. Wanted to start to move forward a little bit, and that's all she wrote. So it's a shame for Hy-Vee. It's a shame for our Turns for Troops initiative with the United Rentals. Definitely pretty bummed for everybody today, but we'll keep our head up and focus on the next one.
Well, that kind of wraps up the last oval race of the season. Boy, these ovals have been interesting this year, and the addition of Iowa back into the calendar next year and a double header at Iowa as well. It's just fantastic. I love seeing that place. It's a really great little circuit, tighter than what we've seen tonight, but brilliant, brilliant circuit for racing. Great atmosphere there as well. You can see the whole circuit just from lying on a grass bank, so that'll be fantastic to get back there. What do we think of the things that happened today? Well, we know now that there's probably 5 drivers in contention for this championship. So that's O'Ward, our current points leader, Alex Palau, Joseph Newgarden, Dixon, and Marcus Ericsson. I think that they are the 5 that are in this game with only 3 races left remaining. 3 very distinctive different venues. Portland, very interesting technical permanent circuit, but a very interesting turn 1 2 arrangement, and as you remember, Dixon went off there a few years ago and salvaged the car and salvaged the championship. Then onwards to Laguna, that's always an interesting thing, and of course the famous corkscrew, and then the very, very demanding streets of Long Beach to round out the championship. So you wouldn't be placing your money on anyone, but we do know that those 5 would be the sitters for it now. Dixon's still firmly in it with only 43 points behind. There's points on the table here, but outside of the 5, I don't think that you're going to get into it. As for the accident that took out Palau and Dixon tonight, you just got to put it down at the end of the day to one of those things that happens on an oval. Oval racing's tough. You get caught in things. It's not pack racing. It's not like we saw years ago when, you get that result of pack racing. This wasn't it. This is just close, hard racing. This is what IndyCar racing's all about, but it's also what chasing a title in IndyCar is all about. And for Dixon, he's won 6 of them. May still win a 7th, because you won't rule that out, but it is what this series is about. It's the fight to the very, very end. And again, we're going to see a championship go down to the wire for, I think, probably the 15th or the 16th year. I have to check the record books. But this championship produces championships that go to the wire every single year. And isn't that great? That's great for the fans, great for television, just great for everything. So I think, we're getting a pretty good deal here. And it just says so much about where the series is positioned, the strength in the series right now. The fact that you've got teams increasing their car count, teams wanting in. We're now starting to see cars come into Indy Lights as well. And as I said, it looks like New Zealander Hunter McElroy will be in Indy Lights next year. These are all positive things about IndyCar. So I'm very, very excited probably about what 2022 holds in store for us, even though we haven't finished 21 yet. So, the teams now have a couple of weeks off. And then they do the 3 weeks in a row. So that's the next tester, is the fact that they'll all go to the west coast of the US for those last remaining 3 weeks. So there's no teams based on the west coast at all. So whatever they take with them is probably going to be it, unless they, freight stuff over from Indianapolis or wherever they happen to be based. But it's 3 weekends in a row, 3 different types of circuits, 3 races, 1 championship, 1 winner. So it's sure to be great. So once again, I thank you so much for joining Racing World. It's a privilege to bring it to you. Really, really enjoy it. Next week, we'll probably be counting down to Formula One again. Of course, we've got Kiwis at Le Mans right now. There's a few hours to go. Brendan Hartley, the Kiwi, still running second in the Toyota Hypercar. So that'll be exciting to see how that plays itself out. Lots of things happening around the world as well. So we'll be back with you again next week. But once again, I can't thank you enough. Thanks very much for watching the show. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon. Stay very, very, very COVID safe out there.